So, today I want to talk about Red Seas Under Red Skies, the second book in the Gentleman Bastard series. The story begins with our protagonists Locke and Jean working on their next big heist in a new city. Of course, the stakes are high and their plan seems well calculated, but still crazy. I loved the heist in the first book, and I love it in this one too. The Lies of Locke and Mora ended with them leaving Camor, and we now learn through flashbacks how the two brothers arrived at the new city they are now living in. Scott Lynch worked a lot with flashbacks in the first book, and it's not different for this one. I would have actually missed it if he hadn't included it in Red Seas Under Red Skies. Our protagonists have to handle a lot in this book. Like I already mentioned, they have the big heist that they're working on, which is a really risky job, and on top of that they have to heal from the things that they lived through in book 1, especially Locke. I mean, he was almost turned into minced meat, so he had to heal a lot physically and mentally. And as if that wasn't enough, they get pulled into a side mission unwillingly, which had nothing to do with their own plan, so everything gets 10 times more complicated now. Like the cover and the title already indicate, well, at least in my copy, we are at sea a lot, and if you like nautical stuff or pirates, this book is for you. I love The Lies of Locke and Mora, and fortunately, Red Seas Under Red Skies did not disappoint me. It's a great story. The new characters were a lot of fun, and the world in general gets more and more interesting. But I would say that book 1 is still better than book 2 because I have some complaints. I did not like how passive and aimless our protagonists felt in this book. I mean, I needed them to sit down and talk about the things that happened in Camor and what their next big plans should be. Like, why shouldn't they teach other children the things that Chainsaw taught them? I know there were a couple of scenes where they talked about it a little bit, but that wasn't enough for me. Anyways, there's something else I want to mention, which isn't a criticism, but I want to talk about it regardless. The first half and the second half of this book felt so different from one another. They could have been two separate books. And not because they didn't fit together, but both stories were so interesting in their own way, and I would have loved to have two separate books just to have more details about the storyline. I generally need to know more about this world because it's fantastic. How subtle the magic is, how people use potions and alchemy in their life, how we still don't know anything about the old civilization and the ruins they have left. Everything is just so grimdark and beautiful in its own way. But no, enough with the praises. This book ripped my heart into 100 pieces and I'm in pain. I can't tell you why without it being a spoiler, so I'm not going to try in the first place. But I want you to know that this book betrayed me emotionally. It almost made me cry because I did not expect it, and it was such a low blow for me. If you like the first book of the Gentleman Bastard series, then give Red Seas Under Red Skies definitely a try. So, that's my spoiler-free review. No, spoiler warning. After reading The Lies of Locke and Mora, I was a little bit concerned because only 2 out of 5 protagonists survived the ending, and I loved the dynamic we had in the first book. So before even reading the next one, I was already worried that I would compare the group dynamic in the first book and the second book in a negative way. Because it's such a big change and I loved what we had already. But fortunately I like Locke and Jean as a duo, and their relationship and their interactions were so brilliant and so heartwarming. The casino heist was so cool and I loved every second of it, but because of that I hated the pirate mission for a while, because it just interrupted the heist. But then I was in love with the pirates and I was so annoyed when we were back at the casino again. That's why I kind of wish that the 2 missions could have been 2 separate books, because it felt like they were constantly interrupting each other. However, that is just my opinion and I still like what we got. But now let's talk about Esri and Jean. I love their relationship. I thought that she was now part of the group, and I just imagined that everything would turn out fine because I love love and I love happy endings. But apparently I'm totally naive because every review that I saw online talked about how they predicted her death already before it happened. I didn't. Esri's death hit me like a train and I was totally devastated. And I'm sorry, I don't like tragedies. I don't like the trend of separating loved ones or killing loved ones just to tickle out a couple of tears or emotions all of the reader. That moment really left me emotionally exhausted for a while. Well, that's all I wanted to say, and thanks for watching. Ciao.